So instead of like, hey, can you go clean your room, right? I got to chunk that down and I got to make it fun. Like I got to like gamify it. I got to challenge him, right? I got to be like, hey, dude, I bet you can't take all the sheets off your bed, right? And the pillowcases off the pillows and run downstairs and put them in the hamper. I bet you can't do that in under 4 minutes, right? If I do that, holy crap, like he's going to be he's going to be engaged. There's a little dopamine hit in there, right? It's the right challenge. That's the other key for ADHD kiddos is the right challenge. Welcome to the Four Peaks Parents Podcast with Thomas Miller. Are you tired of your tweens, teens, and young adults' negative behaviors and poor choices holding you emotionally hostage, controlling your family, and ruling your life? If you answered yes, then you are in the right place. This podcast is a community for courageous parents just like you who come here to gain effective tools, skills, and take action so they can change their tween, teen, or young adult's life and improve their family's future. Welcome to the Four Peaks Parents Podcast with your host, Thomas Miller. Today's topic is all about the ADHD brain and helping ADHD kiddos or kiddos with ADHD. Hi, my name is Thomas. I am not only the president, I'm also the client. Not of Hair Club for Men, but I would say of an ADHD brain. I definitely am self-diagnosed more on the hyperactivity side. What I'm going to talk about today is how ADHD is also a superpower. I'm a huge fan of looking at ADHD from an adaptive lens. There are absolutely limitations, let's say, or challenges or weaknesses. And we're going to talk a lot about kids. Of course, tweens, teens, and young adults today. But I just really am the biggest fan of making sure that we look at things from a strength-based lens. So here's a quick little kind of thing I say a lot to families when I'm coaching. So a lot of times families will reach out to me. They're joining the Four Peaks Parents group. They're working with me individually through the Four Peaks Parents program, whatever, right? I'm coaching them individually or through the group model. And more often than not, when we have a discovery call, they're like, my kid is disruptive, right? My kid has ADHD and they engage in disruptive behaviors, right? Disruptive. I hear the word disruptive, oppositional, and defiant every single day of my life, right? And yeah, I get it. You know, if a kid is having a hard time accepting no as an answer, if they're easily annoyed, if they're annoying others, if they are constantly creating problems with people who are authority figures, I get it. It's turning your life upside down and you want to strangle your kid. It's nuts. I get it. However, one of the things I remind families all the time of is that Blockbuster, if y'all are my age or around my age, I'm 45, y'all remember Blockbuster. Well, it's really funny because you could read the original kind of notes of the executives at Blockbuster where they talk about when Netflix was kind of like just showing up on the scene. They felt that their perspective was that people like to go to their local Blockbuster and commune with their neighbor and pick out their video. And that by itself, right, is the idyllic user experience, right? There's sort of like an actual memo, internal memo, and I may be misquoting. But in essence, Blockbuster was thinking that was the perfect user experience, or that, you know, they're putting their money on not having to change, right? Well, Netflix was disruptive to Blockbuster because guess what? The true user experience is that they want to be in their pajamas or potentially their underwear, you know, in their bed, right? From the comforts of their own home and binge watching, right? Or watching whatever the hell they want to watch at their own disposal. So the word disruptive is often viewed, right, from a negative lens when we talk about kids and ADHD. Think about it. Tesla is disruptive to the oil companies, right? Lyft and Uber is disruptive to the taxi cab industry. The list goes on and on and on. There's so many disruptive companies that are uber successful. So when we think about disruptive kids, they get a bad rap. And so we're going to get into definitely some hacks today to help your kids, right, improve their executive functioning so y'all don't, lose your mind. We have a child who we love to death. However, for years and years, years, we called him the mind eraser because he literally was so verbose. I don't know where the hell he gets it from, and was a motor mouth and would not shut the hell up. And he would just talk incessantly because he is so passionate about things because of his ADHD. He gets tunnel vision, which is at times a superpower and at times, right, a deficit. And he is so engrossed in it that he's just talking about it till, oh my God, the cows come home, to the point that we dubbed him the mind eraser because if you were driving somewhere, and I can't remember how many times I'd be driving to like a client or driving him somewhere and then dropping him off and running to my office or running home to do a virtual coaching session, I would like not even remember what the hell my name was, never mind what day it was, never mind like, what am I supposed to talk to this client about? Like it was just amazing, his ability to mind erase. So I just want to like start backwards, right? And then we'll work our way toward being super tactical and giving you some hacks and tips and tools and strategies that will help your kiddos. But first off, like what the hell is executive functioning? Like we hear this all the time. So just to give you like a broad brush on it, it's basically like, think of it like the CEO of the brain. It's what helps us plan, focus, remember instructions, juggle multiple tasks, right? So kids with executive functioning issues, they're going to struggle in like a whole bunch of areas. And kids with executive functioning issues can be crazy smart. And I don't want to dork out too heavily on IQ today. We could totally do another episode about that. But there might be variances in their IQ. There's different domains of the IQ. And so they may have strengths in some aspects, but then maybe some weaknesses in others. So the core areas of executive functioning, one of which is an indice or a domain of IQ, is called working memory. That's the ability to hold and use information in your head. So it's like all about remembering a multi-step direction. And so many of the families that I coach, their kiddos have ADHD, among 85 other things. And it's not just ADHD, it's understanding, is this impulsive / hyperactive type? Is this inattentive type? Is this combined type? There's 3 types of ADHD. Is it, again, that they have a super high, what's called verbal comprehension? They could have a really high verbal comp, but they can have a slow processing speed, which is going to really trip them up. Processing speed is the ability to do a series of repetitive tasks under time, meaning that element of pressure. So a lot of kiddos do poorly sometimes on that aspect of IQ because they rush or they get tripped up and kind of freeze a little bit with the element of time, right? And so kids with executive functioning issues are going to struggle on the working memory side, right? They may not remember the multi-step directions. They may rush and jump over something and be a little impulsive, or they may just have forgotten and missed a complete step, which, like with coding, like with a lot of things, it stacks upon itself in a compounding way. So if they got it right, they can maybe keep progressing. If they messed up the first part, if they messed up the second part. And when kids' executive functioning goes offline, it's really going to hurt them, right, academically, as well as socially too. Other areas of executive functioning includes cognitive flexibility, right? Can they toggle? Can they shift, right? Attention, adapt to new rules and situations. Some ADHD kiddos are brilliant at that. They can pivot, toggle like microseconds, millispeed. Kids with inattentive type, again, might be offline. They might be daydreaming. Can they manage impulses? Can they stay focused without getting distracted? Really freaking hard in our educational system that really is not meant to, let's just be real, for children, period, right? I mean, when you really look at the asks of the typical educational day, a lot of verbal learning, a lot of verbal teaching modalities. Schools are getting so much better, more experiential learning, There's more visual learning modalities. There's a little bit more kinesthetic or touch, right? But still, we have a long way to go. And we're asking kids to sit in uncomfortable desks for basically 7.5 hours with a lot of transitions. Boom, 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 every 44 minutes, every 42 minutes, every 46 minutes, right? A lot of stimuli, right, in classrooms with a lot of kids, right? Emotional regulation is another aspect of executive functioning. How do they handle big feelings? Planning and organization, that's where crap breaks down, right? Every day in the Miller house, right? Always chunking things down for my kiddos, breaking tasks into steps and keeping track of stuff. You should see, oh my God, our mudroom is a hot mess. There is like one shin guard. There's another shin guard, but it doesn't match that shin guard because my kids are big soccer. There might be one cleat, again, that doesn't match the other cleat, one sock. It's just, oh my God. And every single, tonight we have practice. So I'm already having like PTSD thinking about it. It's like, where's the jersey? Where's the practice jersey versus like, what color are we? Da, da, da. It's like we've done this for the first freaking time. Like, even though we've done this 8,000 times, it's still invariably like herding cats. And then time management, right? How long do things take? I was just saying to this family I was coaching, actually this morning, I was talking about how if someone offered me or offered it an ADHD brain, for sure, that's definitely more on the inattentive side. Hey, I'll give you like $1,000 to paint this room if you do it by July 1. Okay. That ADHD brain that put that task in the not now bucket, because everything in the ADHD brain goes into now or not now. That's pretty much what happens. And if that person, for whatever reason, doesn't have the hook, they don't get hooked in that task, it should go in the now, it's going to go in not now. They ain't going to paint that room until like June 30th, you know? However, if you create urgency for that brain and you're like, look, I'll pay you 10,000 or 5,000 or 2,000, right? I'll pay you double. If you get it done by this Sunday, they're going to get that crap done like in an hour, you know, because there's urgency. And that's another hack we'll get into. So a lot of times work expands the time we give it. And more often than not, kids with ADHD will either assume something is so much more like longer than it really is. And that just further promulgates the reason it goes into not now. Because if my homework is going to take me 3 hours, I hear this every day. Oh my God, I've heard this for years doing therapy with tweens, teens, and young adults and talk to them about their school. I had 4 hours of homework. Meanwhile, it's like, bro, if you just did a 25-minute micro burst of work, you gamified that, which is a hack, right? Where you then give yourself like a 10-minute reward or break, go shoot hoops or juggle a soccer ball or listen to music or whatever that is, or play a video game even, and then hop onto another 25-minute increment module where you rip off 25 minutes. You're probably done with your work in 50, but they'll take that 50 minutes and turn it into 3 hours because they'll try to get work done across 3 hours. But in fact, when you really deduce those 3 hours down, they really only got maybe 42 minutes worth of work, right? Okay, so what does this crap look like in every day? I don't need to tell you, right? I mean, if you got a kiddo at home with ADHD, you know they're forgetting their backpack. They got a messy desk. They're struggling with starting or finishing homework, right? Starting because, again, it's going in not now. It's deemed banal. It doesn't have the hook. They're expanding how long it's going to really freaking take, right? Or finishing, right? How many kids have I worked with myself as their therapist, or currently do I coach parents that have a child that, believe it or not, actually does like 80% of the work and then doesn't do the last 20%? Because again, they just lost steam, right? They couldn't stay hooked in, right? It again got deemed banal. It lacked, right, that it was no longer held kind of in the orbital prefrontal cortex, which is the big part of the brain that drives executive functioning. Or how many kiddos have I worked with who've done their homework and just haven't gone that next step the next day of turning that freaking crap in? And don't get me started on these schools that supposedly everything's supposed to be in Google Classroom or whatever you call it. But then there's always that one teacher who, even though they know they got 9 kids on IEPs, right, who's like, hey, as the kids are walking out the class, like, oh, don't forget this ditto, and like handing this freaking ditto to a kid, or don't forget to read da 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 da, you know, or do this assignment. That crap is gone. That crap is not going into, again, if you remember working memory, it didn't make it. It didn't make it into remote recall, and it sure as hell didn't make it into long-term recall, right? It probably seems like they're not listening to you every freaking day when really they're just overwhelmed, right? You know, you have an ADHD kiddo on your hands when 2:30, when they come in your house and they just implode, and it's like, oh my God, they look like they just were in World War II, and they're like just falling apart, right? And coming undone literally at the seams because they've had to hold it together all freaking day, right? There is some laziness sometimes in here, but more often than not, it's not laziness or bad behavior. It's just brain-based behavior, right? So it's not a reflection of, and definitely not a reflection of intelligence or effort. These kids often want to do well. They just need more support, structure, and strategies to build these skills over time. That's where we come in. That's why I'm talking about this crap, right? So we can get things headed in the right direction. If you have an ADHD kiddo, again, we could spend another episode, and I could totally have someone come in and talk more about 504s and IEPs and what does that mean, and all the cool kind of things that schools can do, from movement breaks to providing an opportunity for a child to have extended time on a test or take a test in a less stimulated environment, meaning less bells and whistles around them and noise, right? That could be the library, that could be, you know, a resource room, whatever, right? Whatever. So here are a couple of hacks, super important hacks, right? Number one, like micro task everything, right? If I say to my child who's on the inattentive, he's on the combined side. So he's got inattentive issues and he's got impulsive hyperactive issues. Perfect example. If I say to him, hey, can you clean your room? That is the most craziest request ever. Like, what the hell does that even mean? 5 minutes later, my kid, who's obsessed right now with violin, is going to be wailing on the violin. I mean, don't even get me started on how much of, we call him a violin creeper, because next thing you know, like, we'll be in the midst of a conversation, my wife and I. I'll be even like on a Zoom meeting or something, and then here comes like boundary violator violin guy, you know, like just like rocking away, you know, and it's awesome because right now, again, the violin's in the now bucket, and the other things that we needed him to do, like clean your room, is in the not now. And he's totally looks like a horse with blinders. So does so many ADHD kiddos, right? Where they're just micro-tasked and narrow focused as hell on whatever the hell they're into, but totally lost, you know, the other ask or request. So instead of like, hey, can you go clean your room? Right? I got to chunk that down, and I got to make it fun. Like, I got to like gamify it. I got to challenge him, right? I got to be like, hey, dude, I bet you can't take all the sheets off your bed, right? And the pillowcases off the pillows and run downstairs and put them in the hamper. I bet you can't do that in under 4 minutes, right? If I do that, holy crap, like he's going to be he's going to be engaged. There's a little dopamine hit in there, right? It's the right challenge. That's the other key for ADHD kiddos, is the right challenge. Kids that are super smart, super gifted, school is not the right challenge. There's not a hook. So they're going to go offline again and again and again. And you think of video games. Why do video games make so much sense to ADHD brain? Well, it's the right challenge. You're engaged 24/7. Otherwise you're dead, right? You're being shot at by a Call of Duty, or, you know, you got to watch out for the zombies and the thing, or you got to, you know, Fortnite, you can't, you know, you got to deal with this other player, you know, FIFA, right? You got to score that goal. I'm horrible at Fortnite, by the way. I'm not cracked at Fortnite. I am cracked at FIFA though, and that's only because FIFA, I play soccer and I coach soccer. So it's the only game that actually, to me, is intuitive. But it's the right difficult because they have to be engaged. It's very linear, right? It's if this, then that. They're very micro-focused on every little task, right? If you think about doing your homework, if a child does their homework, what reward do they get? Nothing. That reward is like, it's hard to even quantify that reward. You could say, oh, there's an ROI. They learn how to delay gratification. It's part of a bigger educational process of them stepping toward high school or college or into the profession. Try to sell that to an ADHD kid. That you kind of got a weak argument there. Whereas a video game, immediacy. So going back to my son and microtasking, if I create that hook, hey, I bet you can't do that in 4 minutes. It's immediate, right? There's a sense of risk. There's a sense of reward. It's the right difficult, right? Really important. Get rid of to-do lists. The worst things ever. Have kids make a do list, as in what they need to do. Have kids make a done list. And that way they get to see the stuff from the do go to done. It's really satisfying. You could create incentives. Hey, if you can get 3 things from the do into done, right? That'd be awesome. You could have, depending upon their age, depending upon what's going on, let your child, right, speak to those incentives. But it might be you get 5 extra minutes on YouTube. It might be you get 5 extra minutes on a video game, or 15 or 10, whatever that is, right? It might be you get to go shoot hoops. It might be you get more time, right? Because again, remember, there's now and not now. And when information comes into that ADHD brain, Snapchat, Fortnite, depending upon the age, Instagram, whatever, right? Video games, girlfriend, boyfriend, that's going to go in the now. The homework's going in not now. But one of the tricks that you have to help kids do is say, hey, look, if you can migrate some of those things into not now, into now, and we can chunk it down into, again, a 25-minute chunk, which helps them, again, avoid procrastination, helps them, again, over-identify or over-label how much time that takes. There's now a sense of mastery. And in fact, you could say, hey, if you get this stuff done that would have otherwise went to not now, throw 2, 3 things into now, you're going to feel so accomplished and you're going to enjoy your now, because so often ADHD brains don't even enjoy what the hell they're doing because they're thinking about, oh crap, I got to do that other thing. So I always say to my son and to the parents I coach, like, help your kiddo say, what is something, if you do today, that future you, as in later on this evening, will thank you for doing, right? What's something? Imagine trying to start your homework at 9:30, which happens all the time, right? You're fried, you're exhausted, and now you're going to try to pull something out of not now, something that you deem banal, and you have no energy and you're tired and exhausted. That crap ain't going to work, bro. So let's get something out of not now into now. Let's create the structure. Just 25 minutes, dude, 25 minutes. 2 25-minute chunks will knock off most homework. Even if it doesn't, you'll feel so much more accomplished around what you got done versus assuming it's going to take 4 hours, waiting till 9:30 or 10 o'clock when you're falling asleep, right? And you're totally mentally fried. So that's a big one. Do and done. Rule of 3s, super important. No more than 3 instructions at a time, right? If you go back to my example of my son, if I'm like, clean your room, there's 85 instructions in that versus, hey, can you rip the sheets off your bed? That's 1. You take the pillowcases off your pillows, and can you run it downstairs, put it in the hamper before 5 minutes is up, or 4 minutes. That's 3, right? Time travel trick. We talked about that. That's what will future you be grateful for that you did right now, right? It's kind of also like eat the frog in a way. Eat the frog is a great technique of, imagine eating a frog as doing one thing that you absolutely don't want to do that you really would normally put not now. Can you eat that frog and do it right now? Okay. Visual timers. It's really great to see the time go down, right? To watch the time go down. You could use a sand timer. There's apps like Time Timer. You can just get a timer on your freaking iPhone or whatever phone you have, right? Make it visible. Help them see that, because kids do not freaking understand time, right? When kids are time controllers, it's only affecting you, right? The only people who give a crap about time is parents, because on the other side of our kids' BS is our sleep, or is our show, or is our ability to actually put our feet up. So when kids are procrastinating, they're eating up our time. So we got to make it really visible for them. Let's anchor routines to existing habits, right? It's called habit stacking. So, hey, every morning when you pack your lunch, you're going to know that you pack your lunch before you brush your teeth, or after you pack your lunch, you're going to brush your teeth. Those things go together, hand in hand, right? It's already happening. So they're anchored together, right? Super important. Brain breaks stations and super important at your house, right? Again, if you think about gamifying, hey, we are going to give you, after those 25 minutes that you ripped off that homework, or 25 minutes that you cleaned your room, or 25 minutes you did whatever, you get a brain break, bro, right? What does that look like for younger kids? It might be a little section of, it doesn't have to be huge. It could be a desk, it could be a corner, could be whatever, some space in the kitchen where there's fidgets, there's coloring books, quiet activities, whatever the hell it is. This is a great advocacy tool, and you don't have to get a lawyer necessarily, but if your kid's got a 504 and IEP, do they have a movement break? Where is their brain break in the day? Who is the person they can go to for a brain break? I don't want to set up an example where kids are manipulating and walking the halls of a school and we're enabling them, but is there a way to have a once a day, every other day brain break, right? And again, how cool is that? Because that creates a sense of self-regulation where that child is aware that, holy crap, I'm getting a little keyed up. I'm getting a little amped up, right? I need my brain break. Very different than this kid being supercharged, impulsive, boundary violating, acting out, now getting in trouble, right? We're talking about a way different approach where a child is self-aware and can choose of their own volition to seek that support. Mystery task. It's great, right? I'm a huge fan of this. You have tasks, could be chores, homework, etc., on folded pieces of paper. Let your kid draw one at random. It's a nice way of getting the boring task, turning the boring task, I should say, into a game, right? And it's so fun to see at my house because kids, my two boys are like, suck it, you got the dishwasher, I just have to sweep the kitchen or set the table, you know? And it's really funny, like, to see what they view as, like, I don't know, worse than the other. Kind of cracks me up. I use sticky notes for every freaking thing, right? Biggest fan. We go through sticky notes like, I don't even know, like air in the Miller household, right? So to have, it looks like the Unabomber if you look into my desk, you know? We got sticky notes because I'm chunking tasks down, right? It's all about micro tasking. So I can create micro wins and feel really good. It's so overwhelming to me to think about the big thing, right? Clean your room, that's huge, versus like 4 little stickies, right? That can really chunk that down. We talked about kind of like adding the sense of urgency, right? With the 4 minutes, you could have fun with it. Be like, can you do this before the song ends, right? Can you do this before, you know, turns 5 o'clock, right? Any kind of things. Anytime we add games, particularly again with little kids and teenagers, even teenagers, it adds urgency and creates fun. That's what we want. Urgency and fun. That's going to have that hook for the ADHD brain so it's not offline. And we really want, again, to keep them engaged, right? So that they're not going offline. Big fan of whiteboards, calendars, right? Getting stuff out of their heads into the world, right? Reduces mental overload. So many times I hear from ADHD kiddos, I just have so much going on. I don't even know where to start. Well, okay, cool. Let's pick a plan. Like, let's pick one little thing, right? And let's chunk that down into 3 little steps. And where can we be by 6 p.m. tonight, right? Because then we're already deeper. If we take those 3 steps, we're so much deeper into completing the project than we are kind of walking around the outsides of having never even started the project, right? We just want to really help kiddos just start one thing and build that momentum, right? It's kind of like hitting one little, you know, tiny little, oh my God, what am I trying to say? The compound effect, you know, and hitting them into each other. So there's a great visual on YouTube of this guy who pushes this tiny little stone. It's like tiny, like the size of like a toothpick, that then hits something that's twice as large and hits something that's twice as large and twice as large. And eventually it's knocking over something that's like 100 and something pounds. And it all started with that first little push of that first little domino. That was the word I was looking for. There's so much here. Again, please remember ADHD brains, more often than not, are super powered brains that could do amazing things, that one day that disruption can be worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. So many entrepreneurs have ADHD, right? So many people that did not fit, kind of to quote Einstein, Einstein talks about the educational system akin to asking a fish to climb a tree. There's so many kiddos that I've worked with directly as a therapist or parents I've coached who are super bright, who are amazing, going to do amazing things, but they're experiential learners or they're visual learners or they're interpersonal learners or whatever, and they're not built right now for the current educational situation, but there's ways to support them, set them up for success. The other thing that's so huge, don't let their self-esteem take a hit, right? And work with the schools, seek 504s, seek IEPs, seek solutions, be an advocate for your kid, catch them being good, create incentives, and use all these tips and tools. And if you need more, you could always reach out, right? I'd be happy to jump on strategy call with you and to see if it's the right fit to work with you individually or in the group model of the Four Peaks Parents Program, just to help you recognize how amazing of a child you have and to come up with some tips and tools so that that ADHD misalignment maybe with the educational system doesn't turn into a kid acting out and getting in trouble. And now they're labeled as oppositional defiant. And then that snowballs. And next thing you know, their self-esteem takes a hit. And now we got other issues on our hand, whether it's vaping or cannabis or this or self-medicating or who the hell knows. All right. Hope you have an amazing day. Hope this was helpful. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Be well. Hey everyone, Thomas here. First off, it means the world to me that you took the time to listen to my podcast. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Also, if you want to receive the latest podcast updates, as well as expert parenting tips and practical strategies for navigating your tween, teen, or young adults challenges directly to your inbox, then sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. And most importantly, if you're tired of feeling overwhelmed, stuck, stressed, and are losing sleep because you're constantly worried about your tween, teen, or young adult, your first step is to realize that you still have a choice and can do something about it. I'm ready to help you take action and create the results you desire today. Just go to fourpeaksparents.com and book a free strategy call. Let's do this. Last thing, while you were listening to this show, who was the one person that you thought could really benefit from hearing it? Please share it with them.